What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. There is something happening in Russia right now that the state media will never acknowledge, and the government is trying very hard to pretend it does not exist. But if you look closely, you can feel it in the neighborhoods, in courtyards, in apartment building stairwells, in bus stops, and especially online. Not loud protests, not marching crowds, not banners, not yet at least, but that is coming, hopefully soon. What I'm talking about is something quieter, slower, but far more dangerous for the regime. The emergence of an underground resistance movement. A movement without leaders, without centralized organization, without official slogans, and yet one that spreads through whispers, shared links, scratched graffitis, and silent understanding. A movement born from exhaustion, grief, fear, and a simple desire to survive. This is not the same Russia of February 2022. The patriotic hysteria has faded, obviously. The applause has stopped, even the loudest cheers turned to awkward silence. Because everyone can now see that this war, what it really is. A senseless grinder that consumes everything it touches. And while the Kremlin is still staging parades, filming propaganda videos, and promising victory that is just around the corner, ordinary Russians are quietly building networks to protect themselves and each other. They tear down recruitment posters faster than the government can put them back up. They share tips on how to avoid being drafted. They warn neighbors and strangers when the military vans arrive. And once someone is taken, they do not just accept it. They fight it, legally, bureaucratically, personally, to bring those people home. This is not a revolution, not yet, but it is a signal. The illusion of control is cracking. Putin's power relies on fear, but fear only works as long as people feel alone. And Russians are starting to realize that they are not. So today, let's talk about the very first subtle hints and signs of the Russian society finally awakening. For the first year of the war, the government relied obviously on the shock effect. Most people were in disbelief, it felt like something distant, abstract, temporary. Propaganda was everywhere, television shouted about Nazis, Western aggression, defending our future. And for a while, many people, especially older generations, nodded along because they did not know what else to believe. There was no any other point of view, it was the only single narrative. The war was presented as clean, heroic, precise, and morally justified, but reality has a way of leaking through even the thickest walls. Telegram then changed everything. It became the one space the government could not fully control. Soldiers talked, operators talked, doctors talked, mothers of death records talked. And even those who tried to remain silent could not ignore the funerals happening in every single town, every day, on every street. Just way too many coffins, too many amputees, too many broken families. Cemeteries grew and expanded like never before, not during Afghan, not during Chechen wars. And so, inevitably, the patriotic billboards that once proudly promised honor, duty and victory started to look more like advertisements for death. People began tearing them down, not in large angry mobs, but one at a time, in the middle of the night, on the way home from work, or simply out of instinct while waiting for a bus. A ripped poster is not just vandalism, it's also a message. We see your lie and we refuse it. Then came the graffitis, under bridges, in alleyways, on benches, on the walls of enlistment offices. Short phrases, simple, direct and straight to the point. No one is coming back. This is not our war. Don't believe them. Your life is worth more than their money. The government paints over them obviously every single morning, of course, but well, every night they appear again. Because you can erase paint, but you cannot erase knowledge once it settles inside a person's mind. So far, this is as much as people of Russia are willing to show their dissatisfaction publicly. It is scary, because tearing down military recruitment poster can, and most likely will if you get caught, will land you in jail for 7 years in Russia for discrediting the Russian armed forces. But people started doing it. That is at least something, the first step. However, there is another place where people behave with less and less fear as months pass by, and this place is online. Let's talk about it in our next chapter. The biggest change is invisible. It happens inside apartments, in kitchen conversations, and in private group chats that are locked behind VPNs. People are teaching each other how to avoid being drafted, which documents to request, which medical conditions can exempt you, what to say during raids, how to refuse signing papers, how to spot fake summons, how to identify military ones in advance, every single thing. There are channels with tens of thousands of subscribers dedicated solely to tracking mobilization rates. Every time, for example, a conscription vehicle appears near a subway station, notifications spread instantly. Locations are posted, screenshots and photos are shared with strangers and strangers want strangers basically. People move like water, shifting routes, changing plans, disappearing before the officers can even show up. Neighborhood chats that once discussed garbage pickup schedules now monitor police cars in real time. Grandmothers or babushkas are the best informants, paradoxically. They sit near windows all day, reporting troop movements better than any intelligence service or a security camera. Don't walk outside, they're grabbing men on Tverskaya, they say. Avoid the mall entrance, they're stopping people for documents. Don't take the metro, squads are checking platforms. This is what society looks like when trust in the state vanishes. People stop working with the government and start working around it. Families have also learned to act fast. When someone is taken, relatives do not just cry and accept fate. They mobilize immediately. Pun intended. They file complaints, demand paperwork, call human rights groups, hire lawyers, break into enlistment offices, or even physically block buses. There have been cases where entire apartment buildings surrounded recruitment officers and forced them to leave. Fear is still there, but courage grows faster. And the authorities know this. You can sense their panic and the increasing sloppiness. The harsher the pressure, the stronger the resistance becomes. When people realize that the state is willing to destroy them, they stop fearing the state. And if some of you think that, okay, well, let's let those Russians be mobilized and become fertilizer on Ukrainian soil, guys, please, no, don't think this way, don't. Please don't think that way. Instead, think that one Russian who did not get mobilized is one pair of Russian boots fewer stepping across Ukrainian cities. Protect Ukraine by not letting Russians fight in this country. Believe it or not, there is even silent resistance and sabotage from those inside the system and the regime of Putin. It is not just regular people who are unsatisfied with their president. Let's talk about it in our next chapter. Resistance is not always loud. Often it is quiet and extremely effective. For example, enlistment offices across the country have seen accidental data deletions, computers short-circuited, hardware's vanished, power outages happening at suspiciously convenient moments, recruitment lists getting lost, files becoming corrupted, and sometimes entire enlistment offices mysteriously catching on fire. Officially, there are always electrical malfunctions explanations. But electrical malfunction do not happen 130 times in 1 year. I mean, come on. Bus routes that were previously used to transport recruits suddenly get rerouted. Drivers call in sick, vehicles break down, hospital examiners responsible for medical checks resign unexpectedly. And what about then those replacement doctors? Well, they move slower. They ask more questions. They delay as much as they can. Even simple actions matter. Like even delay of 1 day can save somebody's life. Someone leaves a stack of anti-mobilization flyers in apartment mailboxes. Someone posts instructions for avoiding draft at the entrance of a university dorm. Someone then uploads the internal military database of conscription-age men leaked into Telegram leak channels. This is not chaos. This is sabotage. And sabotage is the natural reaction of the society that has been pushed to the limit. People are tired of watching their husbands, sons, brothers and friends disappear. Tired of funerals where no one is allowed to speak honestly. Tired of being told that death is glorious when in reality it's just terrifying, cold and pointless. The government wanted obedient subjects. It got them at first. But then it went extra mile with testing their patience and limits, so it bred resentment instead. There was a time when the Kremlin tried to justify the war, tried to give it purpose, tried to make people believe it was about protecting Russian identity, historical destiny or security. But when thousands of men return in wheelchairs and then tens of thousands more do not return at all, suddenly meaning evaporates. People understand now. This war is not about defense. It is not about victory. It's not even about Ukraine. It is just a machine. a profit pipeline, a political theater staged to preserve the image of one aging man, too terrified of losing power. Every new mobilization wave is just another batch of humans fed into the furnace, so that a handful of oligarchs can continue breathing freely at the top. And the more obvious this becomes, the weaker the fear becomes. When a father looks at his son and realizes that the state wants to turn him into a corpse, there is no patriotism left, obviously, only instinct to survive and to protect. That instinct is stronger than any propaganda, stronger than intimidation, stronger than any speech Putin can ever give in his life. Russia is not on the edge of a revolution, not yet at least, but something fundamental has changed. The government can no longer assume blind obedience, the population is no longer isolated. Information flows, warnings spread, people act together even without coordination. And every ripped poster, every deleted file, every whispered warning at a metro station is one more signal that the Kremlin cannot bury under propaganda yelling. Control does not disappear all at once, it dissolves, slowly, quietly, like ice melting underneath a heavy building. Putin still has power, but power is not the same as stability. And the silence spreading across Russia today is not the silence of obedience, it is the silence before something breaks. Well, there you have it, guys. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my channel for more just like this. If you wish to support our work, the best way to do it, the absolutely best way to do it is through Patreon memberships. There is also an additional chapter waiting for you at the end of this episode. The link is down below. Thanks much for watching, happy weekend, see you on Tuesday.
We won't succumb to their tricks, the facade they try to sell. Their twisted words and feeble claims on us all they cannot quell. We see through their lies, their feeble attempts to sway. We do not believe in ridiculous Russian propaganda.